All right. All right, cool. So first thing is a quick reminder. Actually, I'm going to make it so that when participants join, it automatically mutes them. All right. So the first thing is quick reminder. Next week, the prep is Saturday from 2 to 4. It is not Friday. So it's Saturday, 2 to 4. There's no Friday call. We're going to go through like some more in-depth stuff. Basically, I'm actually going to stop sharing. What we are going to go, actually, I never even realized that. If I, whatever. So what I want to go through today are two quick things, or two important things. But we are going to go through LinkedIn at the end. But at the beginning, what I want to talk about is a few people after, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, Lily did an awesome talk on like getting the most out of the vector opportunity and earning like branch or, district or sales manager, that type of stuff. And multiple people asked me questions about what it would take to earn those roles. And my goal for today is for me to go through some of those things that it would take for the first half of this call, and then give everyone the opportunity to like set up a LinkedIn at the second half, and we'll talk about why. But the one thing that I want everyone here to do is I want you to write down that your goal should never be to earn a role. Your goal should be to thrive in the role once you've earned it, right? So like there's too many times where I feel like people know that they have opportunities available to them and they don't necessarily prepare the way that they should, right? Like it's almost like sometimes that like trust fund kid who's like, oh, I'm going to take over my dad's company. And you know what would suck? Taking over your dad's company and running it into the ground, right? And that happens because a lot of the times people don't prepare for that. And your goal should not be to just attain a role or a position. It should be to thrive and succeed at the highest level in said position. So I have a few different steps on how to do that, how to set yourself up for success and, do well in a position. And also, obviously, like I said, earn that position, right? So the first thing is thinking like a leader, right? And this is something I talked about with a couple different people, but the reality is, you can be prepared at a high level for certain things, but you're never like fully prepared, right? And I was talking about this with Aiden yesterday. It's like it's almost like being a parent, right? Like you're like almost like mentally prepared, but you're never like fully prepared for that. Sometimes you need to jump into that role. But one thing that you could do now to prepare yourself at a higher level is to be a branch inside of the office that you're in now and figure out what it would look like to live that role before you are in it, right? And say to yourself, okay, if I'm a branch manager, I want to build my own mini team inside of this team and make an impact so that I know what it's like, so that once I step into that role, right, it's not new to me, right? So it's asking questions, watching us do as many things as possible. It's getting involved and asking for more responsibility, right? This might be, no, I don't think it is. All right, so what I mean by that is I said this to Aiden yesterday. Personally, I don't like giving people responsibility. I like people asking and taking responsibility of different things because it shows me that they really want it. And we had this awesome event where it was the National Manager Conference. And they hired Jesse Eitzler, who is like part owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He owned multiple companies, like a private jet company. He owned a coconut water company. His wife is the woman that invented Spanx, which is pretty solid, right? And so that's like a successful power couple. And one of the things that he said that I love was, he said two things that were really powerful. Right? He said one of them is, too many times when we see success, we take our feet off the gas, right? Like when you see success in terms of earning a promotion to leadership academy or assistant manager, that is when you should put your foot down and really maximize that momentum, right? And the other thing that he said was that a lot of times throughout his career, because like this dude had he was a rapper, and then he just did all this like stuff where he put himself in a lot of positions where he had a lot of pressure on himself. And one of the things that he said that I loved is he said, pressure is a privilege. And I was like, that's fire, right? Pressure is a privilege. Putting yourself in a position where you have more responsibility and pressure, that's a privilege, right? Not everyone can do that. Not everyone puts themselves in those positions. So yeah, you might have more pressure with more responsibility, but that is a privilege, right? So it's learning what it's like, asking questions, looking at it from the perspective of that position that you want to attain, that you could potentially earn, right? The second thing is growing yourself. And I have a little exercise for you guys, right? So in this exercise, you are, and I'm not saying you are obviously not all going to be running an office next summer. We are not promoting everyone, but in this exercise, I want you to think about it. And right now it is next summer and you are running your own office. You are a manager, right? And I'm going to give everyone like 2 minutes to brainstorm this. And on paper, I want you to think for those 2 minutes, what are the attributes that you want the representatives on your team to have, right? What are like the characteristics that you want for the representatives on your team? And I want you to jot down, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to work on this. What are the list of attributes and characteristics that you want from your representatives? So I'm doing 2 minutes, attributes and characteristics from the representatives on your team. Go.
Every morning there's a halo hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's four-post bed. I know it's not mine, but I'll see if I can use it for the weekend or a one-night stand. Couldn't understand how to work it out. Once again, as predicted, left my broken heart open and you ripped it out. Something's got me reeling, stopped me from believing, turned me around again. Said that we can do it, you know I wanna do it again. Shut the door, baby. Don't say a word.
All right. So in the chat box, I want everyone to post at least one. What's like one of the attributes, the characteristics that you want for the representatives on your team that you are running your office? Coachable, passionate, right? Those are great. Competitive, coachable, willingness to learn, curious, hard work. Cool. And hopefully, like, we have like a list of at least like 5 to 10, right? And what I want everyone to think about now is go through your list, and I want you to make a star next to the ones that you need to work on, right? I want you to make a star on the ones that you have an area of opportunity to improve, because the reality is, right? The reality is you don't get out of life what you want, you get out of life what you are, right? And as a manager, you attract people with similar traits to yourself, right? So for me, as a new manager, I wanted organized reps, right? I wanted people that had schedules and all that. But I, as a new manager, did not have organization. I had no structure. I had no schedules. So what do you guys think my reps were? A mess, right? They were a mess. And like we were succeeded because we had talent. But right, once I worked on growing myself in that area, that was something that I saw more reps on my team that had those things. Now we have a bunch of nerds. Look at this, Yada, Levy. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Like, but that's the reality is if you want those in other people, the thing that you need to do is you need to become that version of yourself that can attract and retain the people with the talent that you want to see on your team. So a question that I have for you, and this is for you, you could share if you want to, but like, what are the areas that you want to work on? And then I also want you to think to yourself, how can I work on them? right? Like, how can I work on these? What can I do to grow myself? And I would share that with your manager, because that's something that they can help you with. But it's how can you enhance those qualities in yourself? The next thing is leading by example, right? And for that, the first thing I have is being the representative now that you would be excited to build a team full of, right? Start living that life so that you know what it's like to coach other people to be that version that you want to see your reps being, right? And to me, it all starts with attitude, activity, and communication, right? It's following the programs, doing things the right way, and saying from the perspective of, am I being the version of myself that I would want to see in my representatives? That's such a great like moral compass to have. Is this what I would want from others, right? So, and leading by example in terms of your attitude, your activity, your communication, but also sales leadership, right? A lot of you probably have heard me say the quote of that leadership is going the way, knowing the way, and then showing the way, right? It's not saying go do something I've never done. It's saying come and learn from where I've been, right? So there's a saying, and the saying is that, and you guys don't even know what order forms are, so we need to like figure out a new saying for this one. But the saying always, when I was like growing up in the business, was that the path to management is lined with order forms, right? And I really do think that obviously there are successful managers in the company that weren't the best representatives, but I do think that a lot of the times the best representatives became good managers because they experienced more and they were able to help people in different situations, right? So a mistake that I see too many times people making is they want to prepare for management and they give up on sales. But the reality is, if you really want to be able to be equipped to properly help your representatives thrive at the highest level, you need to thrive at a higher level so that you know what that's like, right? The next thing is taking more ownership and asking for responsibility, right? I said it earlier, pressure is a privilege. Ask for responsibility. See, and like share with your manager what you want to get better at. Ask questions, come up with ideas, right? I said this to Aiden the other day. I forget who I heard say this, but it was like somebody said, like, that if you think from the perspective of like, what is something that I could do now to help the team that could be like a company-wide like procedure, that could be something that everyone is doing in 3 to 5 years, right? The person that invented our Facebook like advertising program was a branch manager, right? And so it's like thinking from the perspective of how can I make a larger impact? Right? The next thing is being a team builder, right? Everything in the business starts with recruiting, right? I was saying this to Aiden yesterday. It's like too many times people are like, oh, I will really want to focus everything on like being a trainer and managing reps. And it's like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It is really hard to be a good trainer if you don't have anyone in your training, right? Like if there's no one there, like you could run the most amazing training ever. That's not really going to do that much. Right? You could be so good at managing reps, but if it's only you, what are we doing here? Right? So if you suck at recruiting, you can't have anyone to impact, right? Recruiting is a privilege, right? Recruiting is not like, this is something that Al said that when I was I guess a newer manager, that was the first time I heard it. And it stuck with me. He said that recruiting is something that we do for people, not to them. Right? Recruiting is something that we do not to people, but for people, because of the impact that the opportunity has made on us. And if we want to make an impact on a lot of people, we need to have a big team, right? And this is a quick thing that I want to teach everyone, right? And there is something when you are making goals and you're figuring out like a breakdown of your goals, there's different ways to measure your goals, right? So there's lag measures and there's lead measures. Right? So like a lag measure is CPO, right? Like CPO is a lag measure. A lead measure for CPO would be phone calls made, right? Another like lead measure before CPO would be, number of reps on your team, right? Or demos booked, right? And so in order to get to that CPO, the measures really break down with what are the size of like really like how many people do I have on my team, right? And even before that, it's how many people have I gotten in front of and shared the opportunity with that, shared that there is this opportunity available. Somebody at the conference the other day said, if every 18 to 24-year-old doesn't know about the opportunity that you have available to them, you're not doing your job. Every 18 to 24-year-old in your territory, right? So it's really figuring out, like I was saying to Aiden, like the thing that he should be working towards right now is what are ways that I could get the word out to more people. And then, after that, it's like, okay, cool. Now that I've done a good job at advertising the openings and making it readily available, to people or like people knowing about it, it's okay, cool. How can I get really good at my interview so that I get those people actually tied into me and understanding the opportunity so they're excited for training, right? And then once there's that, then it's like, okay, cool. How can I obviously, one of the things that's so like amazing about the opportunity now and the programs that we're getting better at is we're running like group training and stuff. So it's not just on one person. Like when I was a new manager, I had to run every advanced training by myself, every team meeting by myself, every interview by myself, every training, right? And now we have all these systems in place that we're only getting better at that we can enhance, right? And then it's like, how can I get good at building relationships with these people in training so that we get them launched the right way, right? They're following the approach. They're calling in for PDI. They feel good about the product and prices, and they have demos on their schedule, right? If you do help them with those things, then it's like, okay, cool. Now, how do I help them thrive and grow and develop over time? But it all starts with as many people as possible knowing about the opportunity. Aiden was like, how do I know if they're going to be as tied in as they could be to my vision? And I was like, you just get enough people and you do your best to cast that vision, and you'll have those people, right? So it's working with them over time. But one of the reasons, well, there's two reasons that I want us to work on LinkedIn today. One of them is we have a huge area of opportunity to help build the team and get like momentum going again. And we started like doing this LinkedIn program, and literally Tommy sent messages one time, like 30 messages, which, Tommy, how long does it take?
I'd say the longest it would be like 30 minutes, but if you put your head down, maybe like you could probably do 30 in less than 10. And probably less than like 6 or 7.
Literally
like 5 minutes.
So I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and like this blew my mind. I never realized, like on LinkedIn, and this like literally like blew my mind. But so like I've been messaging just to get the word out about for Ramapo students, and if you could search a college and you could go to alumni, and then you could literally pick the year, like that, or like a date range that they like graduate, right? And then you could literally just go. So I'm doing Ramapo. So you'll notice that a lot of these people I'm already connected with. And then you could just go to connect. You could add a note and just say, hey, we're looking to fill positions, right? And we literally started doing that, like me, Charisma, Yada, and Tommy last week. And we've had 20 people apply from this, right? And I'm like, we need to do more LinkedIn, right? And also, LinkedIn is valuable for you guys because it's literally networking, right? It's building your personal and professional brand for yourself. And a lot more I think everyone, honestly, like should make a LinkedIn. So what I want everyone to do with the remainder of this call is I'm going to send this page out. It's a page that we put together. We have like a staff site. And it has at the top of video, you could watch this later, but you'll notice it has this at the top. It is a checklist for setting up your profile, right? Like setting up a LinkedIn profile. And you're going to set up your LinkedIn. You're going to create an account, right? There's a cover photo here for Vector that you can use, right? There's examples of Lily, myself, Kristen, Mark, like LinkedIn. And you'll notice that there's some different, so like this one is like a sales representative. Like if you click it, it will open a new tab, and it has like a bunch of bullet points for you. And down here, it has some of the skills that you could put on there. And then there's different stuff that you could put for different categories. And so what you're going to do is you're going to set up your profile. You're going to add certain people. Like we could add everyone from like this call should add each other so that you start building out your network. I would also suggest adding some of your teachers, right? Like get to know some of your teachers, right? You can add some of your customers, endorse each other. You can follow your high school and college. You don't need to do like these two. But what I want everyone to do for the next like 10 minutes is I want everyone to set up their LinkedIn and send me a connection request, and so I can give you some feedback and send your manager a connection request. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions on that? By the way, if you guys were wondering, like I literally my LinkedIn, I have I don't even know if it says it on here. It's like I'm an all-star fucking LinkedIner. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like I'm that guy. I am an all-star. Like, so if you guys want to I got you, the ribbon. So I want everyone to set up their LinkedIn, like add each other, go down this, you can go down this profile checklist, set that up, and then go down to other stuff. I want everyone to set it all up. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Do it to it. I'm going to stop recording.